Hey guys, just thought I'd put a quick little update vid of how everything's going. So far everything's pretty good. This year I really focused on getting the first year perennial garden established. I got everything I need. I pulled out my compost and then I found this bin, or my wife actually found this bin. And starting a new compost for next year. Yosta berry put on a ton of growth. I mended this whole bed with Yosta. I stuck some mint cuttings in, some of them took, and I finally chopped out all my ground cherries. Now they were still producing, but you know, I got so many ground cherries this year. I figured, okay, it's time to chop and drop. And I did. I chopped and dropped them, covered them up with compost, and then continued on from there. And I chopped all the borage back. Borage and ground cherries are incredibly intense at self-sowing. Like this borage, 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 borage. The list goes on. There's so many borage in here that just self-seeded. Right back here, ground cherry that came up, and there's many more that are coming up in that pile. They're all over the place. Look at my helianthus here, tuberosus, beautiful. When I got it, it was probably about to here maybe, and it's put on about 3 or 4, maybe 3 feet of growth, and I can see a little flowering tip up top, so I'm hoping these ones might reach 6 to 8 feet, but next season we'll see how that changes. The garlic chives started to flower. This alyssum really spread out, and so did the strawberries. Originally I transplanted them and they did horribly, but then they really made a rebound over in this part. The currant is doing well. It put on tons of new growth. And the comfreys back here, when I first got them, they were sad little comfreys. I don't know if you remember. And same with these echinaceas, really sad. And now they're starting to flower. A lot of the nasturtium self-sowed as well. I got a lot more coming up, and then at the same time I chopped and dropped a lot of it too to give some light to a lot of the other stuff. So these ever-bearing strawberries are going on for their second crop. This gooseberry I stuck in the ground as a cutting, and I'm going to cut back a lot of this old growth in here and just leave the new stuff. But man, did it ever spread. And this goji berry just keeps getting taller and taller, and that's its first year. So what I did was I got myself like a bee mixture, which has pigeon peas and echinacea and monardas, different types of monarda. Sorry, a car came by. Monarda, and poppies and corn poppies and lupins, and I spread it all along the back row, along the back where the swale was. And I'm also going to be putting more poppies and lupins in. The cactus did well. I noticed it was getting pretty fat at the top, so all I decided to do was just break the pads off. This little one right here rooted very easily, and the rest of them I'll probably expect the same. And then along the borders here I seeded it out to chives, garlic chives, more thyme, just to kind of make a rhizome barrier. And then here lavender. Lavender has known to overwinter here, even though we're zone 4B. It tends to overwinter in North Bay. We get a lot of heat from the lakes. We have a lot of lakes, and that does affect our climate quite a bit from year to year. It always differs, but a lot of people say if you grow it beside a deck or beside a brick wall of your house, that you'll see a big difference. So anyways, yeah, I'm just surprised with the amount of stuff. And what I went ahead and did is in these areas here, I loosened up the soil a bit, and I planted out some music garlic that I got. So I never tried hardneck garlic. This is my first year doing it. Apparently this is a good Canadian variety to grow. And an interesting update, I went out and I found a ton of plant material to grow for next year. I grew out a ton of apple trees, and this year I'm growing out a lot of nut trees. I got plums, Mirabellan plum, just like Voyager blue plum, different plums. Sorry, this is really hard to open, but I did it on purpose because I don't want anything getting in. And then I had a big score this year. I didn't do so well for hazelnuts. The heat, the amount of heat that we had and the drought this summer was intense. But other than that, as you can see down here, these are all butternuts. Found a big butternut tree. It was in some guy's yard. And he said, yeah, go ahead, you can have as many as you want. So I took a big handful, and anytime I go by there, I can just grab whenever, and I'll be growing these out next year. So butternuts, apparently you can leave them like this and grow them out just fine. And I got a bunch of other stuff intermixed in here. Doesn't look like it, but there's a lot of other seedlings in there. There's plums and a number of things. And then I went ahead and I got a hold of this place in Geneva, NY, for Kazakhstan apple seeds, 4 open pollinated varieties. So I'll be growing those out next year as well. I did really well with apple trees this year, and the apple trees in my area did very well. We have a really good climate for growing apples, and a lot of the domestic wild apples around here did incredibly well. So that's exciting news for me. I got some persimmon in there, some hazelnut in there, some plums, Mirabellan plums, and now butternuts. Hopefully the jug alone doesn't affect it in any kind of way. I'm hoping it won't. And we'll see how it goes. The apples I'll be doing in the fridge. And then, yeah, I'm just really excited. I'm hoping this bucket method works well. Anyways, as you can see here, I got myself quite a few more bird feeders. And I've had tons of chickadees swarming. The plan is to keep them over winter, keep them happy. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that was just a little update. Next year, I spreaded this out to a lot of seeds that will overwinter in the fall. Hopefully I'll get a lot more flowers. You know, just gonna try and get as much biomass as possible. I took some grape cuttings as well, and I stuck them in at the back over here, in the back part of my fence. Way back in that corner. And the other day I pulled a few out, and I got some good rooting on a couple of them, so I left them in. And I'm just gonna let them nurse themselves up. I have to say, mint as a companion plant, definitely something you should do. If you're afraid of it in your, your crop garden bed, yeah, don't put mint there. But mint, along with grapes and your perennials in different areas, is an amazing idea. I highly suggest that. Same with borage. Borage, it spreads like crazy, but you can never have too much borage. You can just chop it and drop it. I believe it's in the same family of plants as comfrey, so it's definitely got some nutrition. Oh yes, and I got some sea buckthorn as well this year. I picked a lot of sea buckthorn berries, and I'm going to be starting those for next year. But anyways, it's just a little update, guys. Kind of rambling on here, but have a good one.